Okay. Good afternoon. We are about to start the third C.V. Seshadri Endowment Oration. Welcome all, and I request the dignitaries to come to the stage. May I request Padma Shri Dr. Anil K. Gupta, Professor retired IIM Ahmedabad. Sir, please come to the stage. Welcome, sir. Then I request the Registrar, Anna University, Professor J. Prakash, to be on the dais. I welcome you, sir. I welcome the Dean, MIT campus, Professor K. Ravichandran, on the stage. Now I request our Professor, Director, AUKBC Research Center, Professor Jayashree, to be on the stage. Thank you, ma'am, for coming. And let's start. Okay. One person go. Please. Now I request the registrar to give a bouquet to Professor Anil Gupta. Now I request Dean MIT to give a bouquet to the registrar, Trustee Prakash. Now I request the director to give a bouquet to the dean. And now on behalf of AUKBC Research Center, I give you. Okay. Now let us start with the Tamil Thai Vartha. Oh, sorry. Oh, my Lord. Sorry. I'm very sorry about it. I now request Prof. A.V. Balasubramaniam, Director, CIKS, to be on the dais. I'm very extremely sorry, sir. Sorry. I welcome all of you for this function. Let's all sing Tamil Thai Vartha.
தெக்கனமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடங்கள் திருநாடும் பத்து சிறு திரை முதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகம் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இந்த பெரும் தமிழனுகே உன் சீரிழமை திறமியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you. Now may I request the Dean, Professor K. Ravichandran, to give the welcome address. Thank you, sir.
Very good afternoon to one and all. Respected Chief Guest and Endowment Oration, today's third C.V. Seshadri Foundation Oration to be delivered by Padma Shri Professor Dr. Anil K. Gupta Ji. Respected Registrar of Anna University, Dr. Prakash, and Director from CIKS Chennai, Mr. A.V. Balasubramaniam, the Center Director, Professor Jayashree, Program Director, Shobha, Madam, and professors from Anna University, MIT campus, ACT campus, and all guests and my dear student friends, a very good afternoon to one another. I'm so happy to note that the AEKBC Center of MIT campus is organizing the third CV Seshadri Endowment Oration. MIT is celebrating its 75th Platinum Jubilee year. On this occasion, I'm so happy to say that all the department in the MIT campus is organizing various programs such as seminars, workshops, exhibitions, etc. So on the mark of the 75th year occasion, and this is also one of the important event organized by AEKB Center. So on this occasion, first of all, I welcome Seshadri and family members to this occasion. Welcome, ma'am. And I'm so happy today. Today we have with us on this great occasion Padma Shri Dr. Anil K. Gupta, retired professor from IIM Ahmedabad, to hear and deliver the lecture on blending the formal and informal knowledge systems, a plea for coordinated research in India. So we are so happy to welcome you, sir, on this third CV Seshadri Endowment Oration. So as such, we talk about the blending of formal and informal knowledge system. Like in the formal system, we follow certain design and certain the area where we need to follow certain norms, and we follow all those systems over there. Whereas informal, like we can express in a way where they can easily understand. So when you blend what I mean, we can able to increase the productivity, and that can be increased. Okay, so this what maybe the discussion may go today. And Professor is from IIM can share his wide knowledge of what's happening throughout the globe and in India, and which may also helpful for us to introduce to our system also, so that it will be easily reachable to get it done. Okay, so I'm so happy to welcome you, sir. I also welcome our registrar Anna and Professor Prakash out of his busy schedule with all other administrative system. He has been with us. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Mr. A.V. Balakrishnan, director, also to this endowment lecture. I welcome all the faculty members of Nine University, guests, and all the students, friends to this endowment lecture. I thank the AEKBC program director and the director for organizing this great event. Thank you, Nandal.
Thank you, Professor Chandran, for giving the welcome address. Now my turn has come. I have to introduce the endowment, a little about the endowment, and talk about the work that Professor C.V. Seshadri has done. It is an honor for me to talk about Professor Seshadri and his work, pioneering work in chemical engineering. Chetpad Venkatasubban Seshadri, popularly known as among researchers as C.V. Seshadri or CVS, was born in 1930 in Tuticorin in South India. His schooling was in many parts of India. He was, as a family, he has traveled a lot. He received his honor degree in chemistry from Madras University in 1950. Then to a bachelor degree in chemical engineering from University of Bombay, Department of Chemical Engineering in 1953. He did his doctoral work at Carnegie Institute of Technology, now Carnegie Mellon University, followed by a postdoctoral work at Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, USA. After his return in 1961, Dr. Seshadri served as a faculty in chemical engineering at Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, IITM, and then at AC College of Technology, the now present AC Tech in Anna University. In those days, it was under Madras University, and from AC Tech, he joined IIT Kanpur, Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, as a faculty. He served in various capacities at IIT Kanpur, as head of the Department of Chemical Engineering, as well as the Dean of Students Affairs at IIT Kanpur. He left the academia in 1974 and moved to the industry and became the chief executive of Kasturi Papers and Boards in Mysore to establish India's first Fodder East plant in Mysore. He then moved to Madras to found Sri A.M. Murugappa Chettiar Research Center, popularly known as MCRC, in 1977 and continued as its director till his retirement in 1995. He is known as an excellent researcher, teacher, and a man who thought about uplifting the rural India through technological progress. As a teacher, CVS was highly regarded in chemical engineering. He co-authored a textbook with S.V. Patankar called Elements of Fluid Mechanics in 1971, and that remained popular for many years. He also innovated a teaching style in IIT Kanpur with flexible test and examination, and that he detailed in his paper in the Journal of Chemical Education 1964. CV's work at MCRC was highly diverse. From 1977 to 1995, he did various innovations in technology, design and development, renewable source of energy, work on bioconversions, search for new energy equality markers, fundamental issues in science, and then traditional science and technologies of India. I would like to bring some of the most important works of CVS here. He was one of the very few researchers in the pre-venture capitalist era who built a complete chain from the concept to the product on the shelf. An exemplar is his work in the algae for nutrition. He identified Spirulina falciformis as the most suitable species for development as a nutritional supplement. This was isolated as a pure culture in the late 70s and was fully characterized. 2 papers in peer-reviewed research journals appeared as a consequence. During 1980-85, a large number of laboratory trials for mass culture were carried out and a number of steps in production technology was finalized. In 1986, large-scale production of spirulina was launched and the product received the necessary regulatory approvals and reached the market in the late 1980s. The link to this complex chain are intricate and require extensive involvement of highly trained biologists and technologists who are specialists in the process design and development. Another example of such a value chain can be found in CVS work on use of high density polyethylene HDPE for building kattumaran, the craft that is used by the fishermen, the local one, and in the development of fish aggregation devices which are also built using HDPE. CVS was a pioneer in harnessing wind and solar energies for rural areas. He brought his extensive knowledge of fluid system to design new types of windmill that were easy to construct, erect in rural areas without requiring high-skilled technicians and affordable, easy to maintain windmills. His work in bioconversion, which is yet another pioneering effort which brought his knowledge of microbial technology to bear a problem that affects rural areas. That is the origin of biogas in India. CVS initiated work on recovery of energy rejected as waste. He was intrigued by the observation that in any process, both energy and mass are ingested. However, mass was fully recovered while energy was not. This he has worked on from 1977 to 1982. CVS was probably the first in a few generation of scientists who pointed out that enduring influence of Judeo-Christian ideas in concepts of space, linear time, and in ideas such as the heat death of the universe. As his work in traditional science and technologies of India, he worked with patriotic and people-oriented science and technology, PPST popularly known, CVS became chairman of the PPST Trust in 1990 and served as the general chair of 2 Congress of Traditional Science and Technologies of India in 1991 and 1993. As a mark of recognition to his work, academic institutions have established endowment chairs and lecture series. In name of few, as there is a chair under his name at IIT Kanpur, a lecture series in IIT Bombay, and an endowment at Anna University MIT campus. At Anna University MIT campus, we have established an endowment which conducts annual oration through AUKBC Research Center, Anna University. It would not be easy to place such a wide range into small number of specific categories for the sake of simplicity in description and analysis. A number of detailed studies have been published, and these relate to the implications of CVS work or the roots and sources of his inspiration. I am happy to say that we at AUKBC, under the guidance of Professor C. N. Krishnan, have come up with a website on C.V. Seshadri and his work. All his publications will be made available to public in this site, which will be launched soon. And today, we have the third C.V. Seshadri endowment oration by Professor Anil K. Gupta, and this is a small note on what C.V. Seshadri has done and what the endowment is about. And now I request Mr. A.V. Balasubramaniam, Director, CIKS, to talk about the speaker. Welcome, sir.
Friends, it's a great honor and privilege to introduce Professor Anil Gupta, who has been a friend and a fellow traveler of sorts for over 40 years. He is associated in our minds and in the minds of a lot of people at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, where he served in the faculty in the Center for Management of Agriculture for over 40 years. In terms of his basic education, he did a bachelor's, a BSc honors in agriculture. Then he did a master's in biochemical genetics. And he also earned a PhD in management from Kurukshetra University. But what he is most well known for was his work in Center for Management of Agriculture in Ahmedabad, where I'd say the crux of his effort, to quote his own words, is expand the global as well as local space for innovations from and for grassroots, link ideas in informal and formal sector to ensure recognition, respect and reward for creative communities, individuals, children and tech students. Now what he is most well known for in Indian Institute of Management, his most popular courses is the Shodh Yatra, which literally means a research walk. If you have to think of somebody who has walked the length and breadth of rural India as much and as intensely as he has, we have to reach out to someone like Vinoba Bhave. I think, sometime this year he is going to do his 50th Shodh Yatra, where he has covered various parts of the country, including Tamil Nadu. Sometimes people ask of scholars, is he just an armchair theoretician or is he willing to walk the talk? If at all anybody has done any walking of the talk, it's Anil Gupta, has perhaps walked thousands of kilometers through the years. So I look forward with great interest to this topic that he is going to talk. But 2-3 things in case people who don't know Anil too well are wondering, what exactly is he? Is he a scholar? Yes, in one sense he is an academic and a scholar, but perhaps more than that. Is he an activist? Yes, I would think so. For example, he has no problem in calling out the government of India and various agencies which do something which he considers as unethical. Several years back, they collected a whole lot of information as part of All India Coordinated Research Program in Ethnobiology. He said it's completely unethical that you have collected and you have done analysis, but you have not shared it with the people from whom you have collected. He has not hesitated to call out. No, he is a scholar, definitely, and he is an activist. But he is perhaps bit more than that. I'd like to share a couple of qualities. He has a lot of differences with a lot of friends, and people are very dear to him, and he has no problem in articulating them. Usually when he comes to Chennai and he has some interaction with me or my wife Vijay, with whom he is close friends, we have a lot of quarrels and fights. In fact, in North India, they have very beautiful saying that despite these fights, they say, Rishte banaye rakhna hai. If you say that in Tamil, ora ultu poidakudadu அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு வலுவா வந்து சண்டை போட்டு போவாங்கிற மாதிரி. And he has a very interesting explanation for this tendency of his from his training in genetics. He said, I know as a geneticist and a plant breeder that you need two pure breeds with very different qualities. We are going to hybridize and produce something. I am not scared of differences. Let's have differences, is what he would say. You know. But more than being an academic or a researcher or a scholar, what really characterizes him is some very human quality which comes across almost every time we interact with him. You know. For example, one very recent example is a few years back, he retired from his formal position in Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. There was a retirement function which was presided over by the then IIM director who was Anil's student. So they asked him, is there anything that you want to suggest to us, anything you think we should do? And Anil promptly said, yes, there's one thing. Outside IIM Ahmedabad gate, a lot of people pass that way, come in, go out every day. Can we set up a tap so that some cool drinking water is available for whoever is coming in, going out or in the way, you know. So 2 days later, the director called him and said, the tap is ready, will you come and inaugurate him, you know. This is a very nice human touch, you know, and without touch like this, I don't think an understanding of his personality would be complete. So I just wanted to share that. I deem it a great privilege and honor that we have known him for so long, and I am delighted that you have accepted our invitation to come and spend time with us here. So, welcome, and I look forward to your presentation. But before that, thanks.
Thank you, Balu, for giving nice introduction of the speaker. Now I request Professor J. Prakash, Registrar, to give the presidential.
Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, family members of Dr. C.V. Seshadri, special invitees, research scholars, faculty members, and my dear student friends, very good afternoon to one and all present here. On behalf of Anna University and on my behalf, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you to the third C.V. Seshadri Endowment Lecture. It's indeed an honor to have you all gathered here today to commemorate the invaluable contribution of Dr. C.V. Seshadri to the research community as well as to the society. We are deeply grateful for the opportunity to celebrate his legacy through this annual lecture series. I would like to begin by expressing our sincere appreciation to one of our distinguished alumni, Dr. K.B. Chandrasekhar, who was instrumental in establishing Anna University KBC Research Center way back in 1999 under private-public partnership model. Also, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to Professor C.N. Krishnan, who was the founder director of AUKBC Research Center, Dr. L. Shobha, the program director, and Mr. A.V. Balasubramaniam, director of Center for Indian Knowledge System, for their dedicated efforts in establishing and nurturing this endowment. Their vision and commitment have ensured that Dr. Seshadri's legacy continues to inspire generations of scholars. Today, we are privileged to have with us Padma Shri Dr. Anil Gupta, a distinguished scholar and a former professor at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. Dr. Gupta's work in promoting grassroots innovation and his efforts in bridging the gap between formal and informal knowledge system have earned him international acclaim. We eagerly anticipate his insights as he delivers the endowment lecture on blending the formal and informal knowledge system, a plea for coordinated research in India. Dr. Gupta's expertise and passion for fostering innovation and collaboration serve as an inspiration to us all. His lecture promises to shed light on the critical role of coordinated research in harnessing the rich diversity of knowledge system that India has to offer. Let us make a moment to reflect on the enduring legacy of Dr. C.V. Seshadri and the profound impact of his contribution to both academic and research community. May his vision continue to guide us as we strive to advance knowledge and promote excellence in research. Once again, I extend a hearty welcome to each one of you, and I express my gratitude for your presence here today. Let us embrace this opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue and exchange ideas that will shape the future of research in India. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Let us sit downstairs so that we can see them.
Good afternoon, friends. Mrs. Seshadri, Sister Seshadri, Shri Professor Ravichandran, Dr. Prakash, Balu, Vijay, Sobha, and all other dear friends who are present here. Dr. Seshadri's legacy is too rich to be summarized or completely annotated in a lecture of 40 minutes. But I'll try my best to highlight one facet of his work, which I will elaborate a little later, about what norms should govern the exchange of knowledge between different systems of our society. And I'll begin with this slide. My colleague Anamika took this photograph, and as you can see, there is one duck which is moving in a direction unmindful of what other ducks do. And I have spent my life in looking for such ducks. She is my favorite. And there are a lot of people in our country who stand up for what they believe in, even if the society mocks at them. And we are blessed because there are people like that who have a strong fortitudinous capacity. I came across this word fortitude when I was an undergraduate student, 1969, second year. And I have been inspired by this notion of capacity to say no when the world wants to hear yes. And such indefatigable minds shape the knowledge system. So knowledge system is not of the people who follow and comply. Knowledge system is about dissent, diversity, and to some extent rebellion. And this is the tradition of invention, innovation, and experimentation. Many times people believe, and I must say, Balu, you said that I take issues, and I'm going to take an issue now. There is a course on Indian knowledge system which is being introduced by AICT and University Grants Commission, which implies that there was a knowledge at the ancient time, and subsequent generations have carried it forward in a fossilized form. Nothing could be more untrue. Every generation, including the current generation, has been experimenting, innovating, elaborating. Those plants which disappeared, they find substitutes for them in the formulation. New materials have come, new plant species came. Chili was not here 500 years ago. We have a very rich knowledge tradition around chili. Avakai will not be possible without chili. So what happened before 500 years? Isn't it part of our knowledge system then? Should we only talk about knowledge system which was there 2000 years ago or 1500 years ago? I think we must be very bold and honest in admitting that every generation and every stream of thought which has been there in this country has contributed to this knowledge system, and we have to maintain this tradition of blending this knowledge from wherever it came. As Gandhiji used to say, let the breeze of ideas come from all sides, so long as it doesn't move me away from my steps. I should be able to stand on my feet. And this is what I would argue is the essence. A change not monitored is a change not desired. And this is something that I would wish we could practice. So, for example, Professor Dr. Prakash, how many experiments in our labs have been started, stopped, or modified in light of the feedback from people? How many lessons are incorporated in the curriculum about the creative solutions that our people have developed, so that our students, our young minds get inspired that if people with much less education, formal education, could do so much and solve such complex problems, why wouldn't we do better than what they have done? How many studies have been shared in local language with the people from whom we collect data, as Balu was just indicating, and ensuring that the benefits go back to them? I was reviewing a lot of papers today morning and yesterday on knowledge systems around the world, and I was looking for, and I will give you some examples where we have tried to break this trend, but I was looking for papers where knowledge providers are co-authors. And I'll show you some papers that were published when I was in the looking after National Innovation Foundation, where some people, some healers have been the first author of the paper because they gave the lead. We only got it elaborated and validated, but knowledge, we didn't make the connection between cause and effect, between problem and solution. That connection was made by the people. We only elaborated and found the science of that connection. So we don't become the author, we didn't make the connection. So therefore, there are questions that we should ask. I have found papers where at best some people have tried to acknowledge in the acknowledgement section of the committee, that too mostly without name, sometime name of the committee head, that's it. But against each bit of knowledge that you have got, from whom did you learn? Even if it was known to the community, not entire community communicated it to you. So communicator was somebody who brought this knowledge to our. Professor Seshadri once wrote in his interview, which is published in PPST, I read it last night again. No knowledge system could ever come out without a value system, a supporting ethical theory. This is the crux of Honeybee Network, which was set up 36 years ago. A nameless, faceless person comes in contact with the network, gets an identity, giving voice, visibility, and velocity to the ideas from both formal and informal systems of knowledge, which are solving real problems of our society. Voice, visibility, and velocity. We may not have done a great job of velocity. That's where we need to do much more. But voice and visibility, we have had the opportunity of honoring the people at President of India's house. They have been hosted by the President of India for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the grassroots innovators, the potters, the artisans, the farmers, the children. I have never stayed there, but they have. So the point that I'm trying to make is that head of the state, when he or she acknowledges the creativity of people, it gives a message that India cares about the creativity. In the last decade and a half, about 20 people from grassroots innovation system got Padma Shri Award. It never happened before. And we must compliment the system which is able to give the highest civilian order to the people who have solved problems with no other qualification than ability to solve the problem. That's it. They have not even 10th pass, many of them. So there is something right that is happening in society. I want to be very optimistic about it. When I criticize something, please don't get me wrong. I'm only trying to say that it can be done better. But there is a lot which is good in our society. Various values that we believe can be blended, whether equity, environment, ethics, excellence, empathy, efficiency, and enterprise. They can all be blended in education. And they need to be blended in education. So what am I trying to say? Let me put the conclusion of my talk today beforehand. There are a lot of colleges of botany, zoology, microbiology, science, physics, chemistry in undergraduate colleges and the postgraduate colleges. There are 700 odd districts in the country. Every district will have at least one college, if not more. Many don't have. Kifre, for example, doesn't have any college, where we went for our 50th Shodh Yatra in Nagaland on Myanmar border. There are some districts like that in Northeast where there is not a college. But in most other districts, there is a college. Students have to learn different techniques, different instruments that they try to use, depending upon how good the lab is. But by and large, they read about it and they do experiments. In chemistry, even in schools have experiments done by the children. But these experiments are often standard, unconnected to the real life experiments of this society. So for example, when we take ginger and put lemon on it, why does the color change? That question is not asked in the lab. And they don't try to find out why the color has changed. You take a blue pea flower tea and put a lemon, it becomes purple. Why does the color change? Simple things that we can see with our naked eyes. We don't need a microscope for that. But it should trigger our curiosity as to why certain kinds of changes take place and how they are done. So my suggestion is that if we can coordinate and ensure that every lab in the country, every educational institution in the country will teach various scientific subjects through experiments dealing with people's knowledge in different disciplines. If it is a potter, then what kind of clay he picks up for making different kinds of pot? What is the temperature at which he bakes them? How does a tribal break the furnace for extracting iron from the ore from which he makes the arrowhead? That is science. There is a physics in it. And that physics has not been taught to our students. They have not figured out how tribal person can hear the sound, the temperature by hearing the sound of the flame inside the furnace. Can you imagine? Measuring temperature by hearing the sound of the flame by a pipe kept on the outer surface of the furnace. There are a large number of such unthinkable, normal mind will not think those propositions which have been developed by the people which need attention. So can we create a network where PhD students, MSc students, but also UG students will learn science by dealing with practical experience of everyday life. They will find out a pickle which has not spoiled for 10 years and then try to see the microorganisms in that pickle and work out why without preservative this pickle doesn't get spoiled. There must be some organisms which are fighting with the organism that can putrefy it. Because some other pickles do damage within a few days. The bread kept in open room will get mold fungus in a few days' time. This pickle doesn't get damaged for 10 years. So they need to know the science of preservative, with preserving the fruits and vegetables and whatever have you without using chemicals. They need to know that and we need to figure it out. So we have been doing this platform, HB and Kriya, Honeybee Network Creativity and Inclusive Innovation Awards. I've kept some brochures here. Anybody can submit an idea, scientists, farmers, housemakers, anybody who think that they have found a way of solving problems. Now, when we try to build the bridges, there are several questions that arise. One question is, how do we respect and recognize the learning from common people? How do we acknowledge, how do we attribute, how do we appropriate the rent from this knowledge without being an exploiter? How do we share the benefits, not just in terms of money, but also capacity building? And how do we share the finding in the local language? Sometimes people say, sir, how would it benefit a farmer or a healer if you make him or her a co-author or share the paper? No, it wouldn't benefit them as much as it would benefit us. When we do something right, we feel good about ourselves. It makes us a better human being. We feel that we have shared and at least added to the confidence of the community. Sometimes there is only one family which may be practicing. Everybody is aware of the knowledge, but only few people practice. People who practice sometimes are neglected, and many times their children don't want to be healer. Most of the cases they don't want to be healer because they have seen that their parents were very generous. They shared their knowledge without cost many times, and therefore they remained poor. People who were stingy became rich. Then we complain that a healer's daughter or son doesn't become healer. Why should they become a healer at son? They will become engineer, they will become scientist, they will become professor like us. There is no incentive system in our society that encourages people to learn this art and be proficient in it. So how do we create capacity among the youth to be able to take pride in it and be supported by it? So are there labs built around these healers or artisans where they can get experiment done and test different kinds of soil and different kinds of plant materials? So can we do this and can we create a global project? So this is a gestalt of sustainability. We walked through this bridge in Cherrapunji district during our Shodh Yatra in Meghalaya. And we asked them, why did you build this bridge? You could have built a bridge of iron, wood, concrete. Sir, we wanted to do something different, something durable, something that doesn't destroy things. I know C.V. Seshadri didn't like the word entropy. But for sake of brevity, I will say materials which will cause less disintegration or have low entropy. So we found that there were roots of the ficus species on two sides of the river. They looked like rope technology. But we couldn't pull them alone. We needed group action, institutions. And the bridge gets built. It takes about 50 years to build a bridge of this kind, and it lasts for 200 years. Sustainability, we have to learn about sustainability. This is a lesson in sustainability. So science is like alphabet, technology is like word, institutions are like grammar, and culture is like thesaurus. I'm a great admirer of cultural diversity because every diverse use and diverse word, different languages have different words to explain that phenomenon, any phenomena, say breeze or wind or soil or clouds. And some languages have more words than others because they have segregated, they have classified the differences in the phenomena more sharply than other language communities have done it. So Shobha was telling me that she's a linguist. And I said, please look, take up some research on which region of Tamil Nadu, or for that matter, other language regions of our country, Kerala, have more words to classify soil, for classify breeze, for classify clouds, for classify waves. And the taxonomy that people have developed, many cases studies have shown, is richer than the US Department of Agriculture's classification of soil in 7 categories. That's all they know. That's all they know. So if we have to locate an experiment, if we have to locate a variety, how do we classify, how do we define the soil for which this variety is suitable? The USDA classification will not come to our help. We will have to understand the slope, the aspect, the density, and the texture and the content of the soil, which is what farmers take into account. Now, this kind of relationship has not yet been built, but is waiting to be done. So basically what I'm trying to do is to change the context that can change the content. And of course, there are different relationships when we access the knowledge, extractive, non-extractive. Non-extractive is when I go to the forest to describe the different species. I'm not taking out any sample. And it could be commercial or non-commercial. So I'm just a botanist, I'm just an ecologist. I'm going to the forest to explain and describe the relationship among different species. It is non-extractive, non-commercial. And obviously, the ethical norms that will apply to me, the obligation that I will have, could be different from the ones who are going to extract something for commercial purpose, and therefore have different obligations. So what I'm trying to say is we don't put the same amount of ethical burden on scholars who have different motives and different drivers of their relationship with the community and the environment. Now here there is one point only I want to have emphasized. Knowledge can be individual, community, and public. But within this, there is a knowledge which we are aware of and knowledge which we practice. The entitlement of those who know and practice cannot be at par with those who just know. We all know that ginger extract with honey is good for cough. How many of us have done it? How many of you know how to extract ginger juice? You know, by crushing it, you won't get juice. You have to squeeze it in a piece of cloth, isn't it? Very few of you might have done it, isn't it? You go and buy a lozenges. But those who know it can explain and help us to learn about it. There are only few people in any country, in any society, in any family who have a desire to experimentally prove something that they know. And these people deserve much greater attention and respect than those who just about know. Because knowledge that we just know can be distorted more easily than knowledge that we know and practice. That's what I'm trying to say. People who are practitioners have less tendency to distort. This is an example from Baramulla, where my colleague Dr. Nanika has a project from DBT in Baramulla, Sikkim and Nagaland. And they took some different knowledge of people and made the soil. And then the names of the communities which provided different ingredients are put on the label. I am told that some other people are doing it very good, but large number of people are not doing it. Most of the product we buy from the market don't have the names of the knowledge provider or inventor or innovator. Why not? What is the harm in it? It will only make us feel good that we are acknowledging them on the label. It makes those communities get pride in their knowledge. And perhaps then younger people in those communities might actually be inclined to conserve this knowledge and be able to make it possible. So this is the triangle that 97 when GYAN was set up, Seshadri was set up in 93, and National Innovation Foundation was set up in 2000. So innovation investment enterprise, this is the model that we scaled up in NIF. And all the three skills are not in one place, one people. So another example, there were 7 communities in Gujarat which gave us some leads about a skin infection. Alone, they were not as effective. But when they were put together in our lab, we found them to be more effective. They were licensed to a company, and this company invited all the knowledge providers at the time of launch of this product. That was nice. People could see that if they share knowledge, and if it is blended with modern science, it generates product that can go farther than what they would have delivered it, and they are invited to see the process and be beneficiary of for 20 years that this patent has been filed for the benefits. So we have been going through these Shodhyatras in different parts of the country, and we try to learn from 4 teachers, teacher within, teacher around, teacher in nature, and teacher among common people. And different Shodhyatras have revealed to us different insight. I'll just pick up a few examples. So this kurta doesn't have a stitch. Imagine now, a kurta which does not have a stitch. How will you weave it? What kind of loom you will design? Balu, just imagine for a minute. This whole kurta is one piece. Without a stitch. Karan Meher and his wife Vijanti, whom we honored last December at Ahmedabad. We met them in Bargar district, Orissa, Baripali. And they had made it. They showed it to us. It is here. Now, this is this kind of an enigmatic, intriguing technologies, hardcore weaving technology, must be there to challenge us that there is something there. They are ahead of us. There is nothing in modern technology of textile that somebody can make a kurta like that. Show me one. I have been to LMW in Coimbatore, which is the producer of the best textile machineries in the world, in this part of the world. So there are things that there are, for example, people who have made a wheelchair carrier, which helps the people who are wheelchair bound to go to any place they want. So you can board it, climb it, and then you can go to 60 kilometers, 100 kilometers, wherever you want to go. You are now autonomous, you are independent. You don't have to be dependent on anybody else. Jignesh Bhai developed this, and this is an example, another example where we filed patent in US and transferred this technology to Kenya. Large number of examples. Look at this. And I teach a course to PhD students of CSIR lab, and I ask students to pick up some practices which they will feel inspired from their home. So one of them said, my grandmother used marigold leaf, gande ki patti, marigold leaf for wound healing. So I said, now find the science of it and do an experiment. And they did an experiment, normal saline, turmeric, and marigold leaf extract. And they found that this was, in some cases, more effective than turmeric. Now it's so cheap, so easily available. In our garden, you may have marigold plants. But if we don't mention this, it remains an anecdote. It becomes a knowledge which my grandmother said, and that is all the respect it gets, nothing more than that. But when I do science of it, and I show experimentally that it is more effective, I begin to respect it. And maybe some entrepreneur, startup will emerge, which will make a product, and maybe every year pay respect to the grandmother and mothers, and at least express gratitude for showing them the way. Papaya leaf, all of you must have heard during dengue that papaya leaf. There are a lot of studies which have done experimentally and proved it that the platelet count increases when other medicines are not working. What is the harm in teaching this science of this process to our students of biochemistry and physiology and medicine and other subjects? What is wrong with that? When it is effective, and when science is saying that it is effective, what is the hesitation in bringing this to the classroom? I'm standing in an institution of great repute, Anna University and the center, and I believe that this kind of work can generate a lot of respect for the center and also for the university. And there are so many students you have, thousands of students you have, And not each one of them may like to change their career plan. Doesn't matter. At least when you are here, you have to do this experiment. Take up anything from your grandparents and tell them that what you did in your research. They will say, now you are getting good education. At least you are able to establish what the very veracity of what we have been telling, and you didn't pay attention to us. Now that your lab, your teacher has taught you and you have done experimental validation, sometime it will not be validated, which is fine, we can reject it. Fasting is a self-healing process. All religions provide for fasting, no exception. Every religion provides for fasting. I am a great believer in fasting. Even when I don't feel good about myself, I do fasting, just to keep my mind in sane condition. And this works. So how do we take this to the next level? So there is a healer we identified in Jharkhand, and he developed a practice for typhoid. We did research, filed a patent in the US with the help of Tom Terrano, my dear friend, who read about us in Economist, gave free service to us. TKDL, Traditional Knowledge Digital Library from CSIR, opposed our application in US Patent Office, and we won. Because the TKDL reference was only for general kind of fever. Typhoid is a specific kind of fever. And this patent was granted in USPTO in the name of the healer, Shatrughan Prasad Vaidya. And then, when the ICMR Virology Lab in Kolkata published a paper, he was co-author of the paper. Now the cycle is complete. Patent is in the name of the healer. The paper is co-authored with the healer. Healer will not understand a word of this paper. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We are doing good science in a good way. That's what Professor Seshadri referred to when he said we need to have values which govern the science and society relationship, and then he shows a good science, how does it work. Similarly, Dr. Kundu worked at National Center for Cell Science in Pune on a plant for cancer line and did extraordinarily good work. He didn't even charge us for consumable. He said, I have enough project funds and I'll do it. I'm sure many scientists would say the same thing in Anna University also. They will not ask us for separate funds. This is a small experiment. They can accommodate them in their ongoing projects. At best, they may like to publish a paper. By all means, please let them publish a paper. What does it matter to us? Why will we not like them to publish a paper? It will make our knowledge system more famous and more respectful. So no question about it. Once there was a whitewash going on at my home, and the whitewash worker who was doing the painting of the wall, his finger got injured with something. And I said, let me bring some ointment. He said, no, wait a minute, sir, I'll just come. He went out, came back after a few minutes, and there was no bleeding going on. So I said, what did you do? Sir, I had cleaned these cobwebs, spider's web. I applied them, and my blood stopped. Now, there is no other coagulant which will work as fast as a spider's web. So we made a cell line out of this gland of the spider, because we didn't want to kill spiders every time. It didn't look nice to us to kill these spiders. They are very helpful. You have done your thesis on spider as a friendly insect in the agriculture, isn't it, Vijay? I remember those studies that you had done in your master's or PhD? PhD, yes. So she had done a lot of work on spider as a friend of pests. So I'm happy that we didn't kill the spider. You will be happy to know that. And there are papers on that where spider's protein formulation can work for coagulation. What I'm saying is we can develop good solutions, they can go to the market, generate money, give pride to our people, our knowledge systems, and make our labs vibrant with knowledge of both the sides, fusing seamlessly and making us proud of that. Another example, we had a Shodhyatra in Gurej Valley. Gurej Valley is near Kargil, northern tip of our country in Jammu Kashmir, and there is a variety of pea there, mutter. And it had, let's look at the protein, 25% protein. Normal peas have 5 to 7% protein. And the phytate, which is the anti-nutritive factor, it is 1.47. So many times when you take pulses, you know that they cause flatulence, pigeon pea and many other pulses. So you add some sour things, tamarind and many things, when you make rasam and other things, you put them in sambar because you want to reduce the flatulence causing effect of the pulses. This will naturally have less phytate, so it will not cause that problem. It's a good protein without accompanying anti-nutritive factor. Another example, We found 30 varieties of Rajma just few months back in Kifre district of Nagaland, where we have this project of DBT. And what do we find? NBPGR, through the Biodiversity International, helped us to analyze them for iron content, and these 5 which are starred had more iron than any other Rajma or pulse in the country. Now 60% women are anemic. When we take inorganic iron, it causes constipation and doesn't go well with our body, particularly women's body. Now if you take this bioavailable form of iron, we are addressing a real problem of our society. Nobody knew that. They didn't know that. People didn't know that either, that it had more iron. It just was there. So sometimes people may not know, and sometimes people do right thing for wrong reason also. But that doesn't absolve us of the responsibility to find science and share it with them. So I'll give you one more example, then I should close, I think, because time. How much time do I have? 10, 15, half an hour? Okay. Then I can take a few more examples. So this is an example. In Andhra Pradesh, when they transplant tobacco seedling, they put their hand in a pot of milk. So if there are spores of tobacco mosaic virus on your hand, on your fingers, it will get inactivated so that the healthy seedling don't get infected. When people in Gujarat have foot and mouth disease, they put milk on the hoof. When I was a child and I had a pain in my ear, landlady put her breast milk in my ear. So I mentioned these 3 things at a conference on biochemistry and plant physiology in Kottayam. Dr. Sinha was the president of the society. He had invited me for talking at that conference. And I said, what is the connection between the 3? I didn't know the connection. I just knew the 3 observations. Intuitively, I felt there must be some connection, but I didn't know what the connection is. So one PhD student from CCMB, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, CSIR lab in Hyderabad, came to me at tea time and he said, sir, both CMV and foot and mouth are type 2 RNA viruses. And after the protein coat is cut by some enzyme, the RNase enzyme in the milk might be inactivating it. Now look at what has happened. So USA recommends officially use of milk for plant virus control. USA recommends it. We published in 92, 93. And first paper was published in 1934. Dr. Chari and Nagarajan, he had written an article for our honeybee nectar, and they showed that CTRI, Central Tobacco Research in Rajamundry, with the dilution of 1:100, milk was helping in controlling the virus. So whey protein also was showing the effect. And Michigan State University on its website shared this knowledge. And Manitoba Department of Agriculture recommends it. Show me one site in this country. Look at the tragedy of our time. No Department of Agriculture in India, any state, recommends it. Why? Because of timidity of our mind. We think, and the practical knowledge from farmers, no matter what scientists may say, how can it be worthy of recommendation? But why can't it be recommendation when other countries, US and Canada, can do that? What is holding us up? So what I'm trying to say, it is not enough to do blending of the two knowledge. We'll have to lobby, doctor. We'll have to work hard. We'll have to tell our department. We'll have to bring agriculture scientists here, agriculture director of agriculture. We'll have to bring secretary of agriculture and show them these results and show them this literature and ask them what is preventing them from recommending to our people simple solutions for complex problems. Why should a solution be always complex for a complex problem? Why can't simple solutions for a complex problem, which are based on science, good science, not hearsay, not assertion, good science, be taken? So these are examples on the website. I talked about this problem to my friend Arun at Kazri, Central Arizona Research Institute. He showed in pearl millet also that it has effect. He unfortunately did not acknowledge either the source of the knowledge or other thing, but that's okay, that's a small problem. But he anyway did that and published it. Now this is a paper which during the 2018, I stepped down in 18, it was published in 2017. Till that time, and I was very conscious of the fact that if you work on people's knowledge, the first author here is the person who gave the lead for controlling tick infestation in cattle, on which they did research in 2 different labs in Palanpur, Himachal Pradesh, and the Department of Agriculture, Livestock also did the testing. So they tested it in the lab, they tested it in the field, and then this paper was published in the Journal of Veterinary Science. It's possible. Good science can be done in a good way. And that's what I have come here to tell. Another example of herbal livestock in mastitis causes 20% loss in milk production every year. So there is a drug which was developed. So people from Seshadri were co-authors, people from villages were co-authors, people from science were co-authors. The entire team worked together. They were all put in the name there. How does it matter if I have 5 authors or 15 authors? It doesn't matter really. In science you have sometimes 150 authors. How does it matter? Let us be inclusive. Let us be inclusive. Even those people who were doing the field work. Mahesh Parmar is a field worker. He is just BRS, Bachelor of Rural Studies. Field assistant. He wouldn't understand much of the paper because he doesn't know English, he don't know Gujarati. But it doesn't matter. We feel good that we have acknowledged our team builders. So even the lab attendant, if he contributes to the research, I think we should not hesitate in making them co-authors of research. It creates commitment. It builds their commitment. They will do much harder work tomorrow. And who knows that they might also become scientists, good scientists in due course. So a lot of such examples, but all of these examples show that at best they are acknowledged in the footnote. That's all. There are not many. I have not found any example in other parts of the world where they have made them co-author or authors. That is what I'm trying to say. That there are different papers on validation, but sometimes they don't even acknowledge, unfortunately. Sometimes they do. Schizophrenia, they found so many plants in Bangladesh showing very good effects. This is a paper from IICT Hyderabad, again, no acknowledgement. So there are a large number of papers, I don't have to go into them, showing that in one case they have tried to give authorship to the community in Australia, which is one thing we must appreciate. So let me come to the conclusion by saying that it is not just herbal technologies or biological science. In mechanical science, this girl, Shalini, sent us, she was in class 8th, sent us an idea, didn't make anything. She said the walkers could have front leg as flexible. Her grandfather couldn't use it on the steps. My wife Sadhana, when she was around, she was using walker, and it never occurred to me that she can't use walker on the steps. So if you have to climb the dais from here, you can't use the conventional walker because there is no place to keep the hind legs when the front leg is on the base. This walker, when you go up, front leg becomes shorter. When you come down, the front leg becomes taller. Such a walker does not exist in USA, does not exist in Japan, does not exist in Europe, doesn't exist anywhere in the world. What am I trying to say? And this has been licensed to this company and she gets royalty. Viso is the company which manufactures it. What I'm saying, even in mechanical engineering, we are sitting in the mechanical engineering department room. Even in the mechanical engineering, we can blend the systems of knowledge and produce solutions that nobody in the world has developed. So we are innovating for the world, not just for Tamil Nadu, not just for India, for the whole world. And a child is like, finds an idea and we are able to just blend it. So we may have mechanical engineering skills, but we didn't get this idea. I, with all my experience, couldn't have this idea. Despite all my affection for my wife, I couldn't come across this idea. Somebody got. And that person is not scientist. The lay person is just a student of class 8. So this openness to receive ideas from anywhere will help our science to go. I will just take this last example. You know, this is a cooking pot. There is a shelf here. In Meghalaya they use wooden trolleys, and the wood, when heated, becomes strong. That's curing of wood. Then Chirapunji, firewood has to be dried to cook food. Second shelf. Third, Cheese and meat has to be dried to preserve. Fourth, on the top there is a seed bag which has to be fumigated for keeping the pest away. Now look at this. Heat is coming from the stove and losing temperature, but each temperature gradient is becoming functional. In our gas, cooking gas, we don't have shelves on the top, so that leftover vegetables and fruit slices could be kept there, and tomato slices can be kept there. They will dry, and then later on they can become a snack. We can eat them. We waste that energy. It goes into atmosphere, not here. And the other one, that Arku Valley, Jyoti, what is she doing? She keeps the panicles of the paddy on the shelf. Now look at the physics. The rate of expansion of the husk and the rice grain are different. So when she thrashes the preheated panicles, thrashing takes much less labor. She has converted waste heat into saving her drudgery. Now the rice grain gets separated easily. You can try this out. Take a panicle, just heat it, and then you pound it, and the grain will come out easily. How much science is in it? If we can see that so-called waste heat, the energy which is going out, we have a person who developed in a refrigerator. I was showing to Ashok yesterday. A refrigerator also produces heat. So this boy Dhruv from Mehsana, a small college, made a hot chamber where you can keep the bread warm instead of keeping them in a casserole, and you can also keep the things cool. Good. Heat from the exhaust of the vehicle can be used to cool the driver's cabin. Heat exchangers. Simple ideas. What I'm trying to say, we have to challenge our students and our young minds that look, there is a scope for making this world better, and this world will become better, and we will save energy, we will save environment, we will save biodiversity, we will save the soil by looking at what our elders did for such a long time, but could not somehow valorize them, could not make them more scientifically supported in manner that they can be standardized and contributed in a large number of people. If we do that, we would really pay a tribute to Dr. Seshadri in the true sense of the term. Thank you so much. Do you have any time for question?
Yes, 5 minutes. Questions? Any questions? Any questions?
Okay, I'll take.
Thank you, Professor Gupta, for the wonderful talk. Really enjoyed every moment of it. I just had a small query. So we do a lot of work in the medical sciences where we use traditional knowledge. But as you pointed out, we have never really included the knowledge providers. So what is the right approach to do it? Because many times we don't know where the source is from. It's more or less hearsay, somebody said and we do it. So what would be the right method to adopt?
See, I would suggest if Anna University issues a spreadsheet, I'll send you tonight, ask every student to talk to their elders and bring at least one example of functional traditional knowledge. Every student. Then you shift it and look at those which are amenable to testing in your facilities. Some may not be, some may require more facilities, some may require medical institute, some may require a high-end biotechnology lab or whatever. Then the technology park can be helpful, there are very good facilities, and other institutions in Chennai, IIT, Madras, wherever can be brought in. A consortium can be created which will have different layers of expertise, being challenged by the knowledge that our students bring. And then when we discuss it, when we design the experiment, we try to invite the elders. I'll give you one example. In 2015, a Nobel Prize was given to Professor Tu Yu. from China. In 1969-70, when there was a war going on in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh had talked to Mao and said, look, a lot of people are dying because of malaria, and find some solution. So 500 scientists, a consortium of 500 scientists, chaired by Professor Tu Yu, was made, and they started screening the database of plants identified for fever 2000 years ago. They found Artemisia to be one plant which was referred repeatedly. So they isolated a compound. And they tried it on herself. She tried it on herself. She also went to the place where malaria was well known in China to study the family problems that go through this malaria. But the fever used to go up and come down. It was not a stable compound. Then she found a 700-year-old manuscript where it was written that they used to soak it in the cold water and then use it next day. She was using hot water, and therefore the compound was not stable. It became stable. And she got a Nobel Prize. Our CDRI also did work on it. We didn't get there. So what happens? The process by which the cause and effect are linked is as important as the substance itself. They were struggling and failing in their mission for such a long time that it was not working out. Artemisinin, which is the compound extracted now for malarial drug, has saved millions of lives. This is the first Nobel Prize for traditional knowledge. First Nobel Prize. So it is possible to do the work of that quality, which will get Nobel Prize to our people, for building bridges between traditional and contemporary knowledge. My only concern is, before this knowledge gets lost, and it is getting lost very fast, if university can take a step and ask every student, as a tribute to their respected elders, we are not saying do it for us, do it for your elders, as a tribute to your elders who have brought you in this world, who have given you this education, who have given you this sanskar, whatever. Everybody will respect their elders, at least to some extent. And they document. So then you decide which level of analysis can you do in your lab, which analysis. And then please invite them or go and visit them to see how they exactly use it. The process is more important sometimes than just the product. And we often give, our research papers don't describe the protocol, the process. But I'm giving this example that if process was wrong, as in this case it was, the solution will be elusive and you will say it doesn't work. You blame the practice. But you didn't pay attention. I'll give you one more example. I was in a committee of National Institute of Health and National Academy of Sciences in the US. There was a program called as Biodiversity Conservation through Drug Discovery. So some multinational company like Bristol Myers and Walter Reed Army Research Institute of Maryland will work with a healer in, let's say, Nigeria, where Maurice Iwu, very famous scientist, was working. He came from that village. I went that place. I wrote a case about that for WIPO. And they took this medicine for malaria again and tried and tried and tried. It didn't work. So finally they got exasperated. They went back to the healer. They said, look, we have tried. It doesn't work. He said, how do you give? They said, we give it in blood. I said, I don't give in blood. I give orally. Go back and give it orally. And it worked. You can understand what happens to the biome in the gut biome and the chemistry or biochemistry of the gut. It was reacting with that and producing the metabolites which are helping. But they were giving it in injection because they were scientists, no? How can scientists give orally? You see the point? The mouse, nobody thought of giving the drug to the mice by mouth. They did it and they found the effect. So there are many examples where if you do not talk to them, people whose knowledge it is. Now don't bring the argument that many other people know it. Did you learn from all of them? No. You can say that the other committee members also know it. I don't mind that saying. But you learned from somebody specific. You didn't learn from 500 people. Acknowledge those from whom you learned. And attribute it to the other committee members if they know it. Verify it. Have a group discussion and ask how many people know it. Then they will know. But I hope you will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions?
This is not even just innovation, but what happens is a lot of research scholars all the time, or even scientists for preparing reports, collect a whole lot of information, interviewing rural people, interviewing farmers and all of that. But what do these people get in return, and how do we compensate them? And this has been a huge dilemma in my minds all the time. Okay, in the report you may acknowledge, we thank all the farmers who have contributed to this report, or, oftentimes it's not even mentioned, and, how do you deal with something like this?
So in the case of this Spain oil, the bottles were given at distributors discount. So that is a 30 to 40% discount. That was the margin they will get, committee members, if they sell it. 110 bottles they sold in 1 month. Because who will collect all these herbs, mix them with 4 different kinds of oil, and then make this? The LM College of Pharmacy in Ahmedabad, Dr. Mamta, her students helped us to formulate it. And the community benefited in 3 ways, 4 ways. Number 1, the material was collected through them, and they were paid a reasonable sum for that. Second, they got the product. Third, they will get a share in the benefits. And fourth, they got name on the bottle. So there are 4 ways in which benefits were shared. Eventually, more and more in situ value addition should take place. I was telling Ashok yesterday when he was talking about the entrepreneurship model that he was developing for rural enterprises. I said, remember, if you dry it in rural areas, if you clean it in rural areas, if you distill it in rural areas, make extract in rural areas, that much part of the value addition will go back to the communities. They should not be just raw material supplier. We will have to set up small refineries, small labs. If a person can make liquor, can't they make a herbal extract? Tell me. What is a liquor? Distillation. Can't he distill herbal extract? He can, no? It's so easy. Give him a fractional distillation. He will get from the same biomass maybe 150 compounds, or 200 compounds, or 15 compounds. Why can't we develop a fractional distillation apparatus which works in the rural condition? This has been my unmet need, a desire which I strongly hold, that the day we give to our tribal people fractional distillation apparatus, they will have a whole library of extracts. Then they will be able to negotiate better price. Our cost will be higher, our quality may not be as good, because some of the volatiles go away within no time. They evaporate. The moment you take the leaves, mentha for example, if you keep them for 1.5 hour, 2 hours, the oil is released by the heat of the pile of the leaves. It is so sensitive. So many times we will not find result when we bring them 100 kilometers away or 150 kilometers away. So it is better that we involve them in processing also. And I believe that we should have mobile labs, we should have small extraction plants, units in the rural areas, and then they will be able to negotiate tomorrow when somebody else gives them better price, they will not give us material. And that's the way it should be. We should learn to negotiate. Why not? So I think there are many instruments through which we should share benefit. Money is one, but non-monetary benefit are also no less important. Capacity building, ability to negotiate, get a better contract signed, sign better contracts, and force those contracts. Who will help us in enforcing those contracts legally? Because many times we will not keep our word in our part of the bargain properly. Somebody will have to argue for them. Somebody will have to fight cases for them. Today we are taking them for granted, but that cannot continue. So a day should come when they will fight cases against us for violation of the moral contract and legal contract in some cases. So I think benefits will flow, have to flow, should flow. In the case of Herbavate, we used to send them money orders to 6 communities. In one case, what we did, we give 3 checks to the same person, a lady from Dang. 1 check for herself, 1 for conservation of biodiversity, habitat conservation, 3rd for a community purpose. Unfortunately, she was so poor, she used all the 3 checks for herself. That was an experience for us to learn that it will take time for them to understand that these 3 checks in her name are for 3 different target groups. It was not so easy. We thought just one experiment and they will learn. No, it is not possible. We have taken time in our life to understand that we should share benefit. They will also take time to understand that some part of the benefit should go to the community, some should go to the environment. But all these processes require experiments. We have been doing experiments, and I think we should do that. Thank you.
I just want to share that over 20 years back, I was sent a paper for review by the then editor of Current Science, Professor Balram. A group of scientists who said they had surveyed various parts of Karnataka and picked up traditional rice varieties, over 100 of them, and screened it. They had shortlisted 4 varieties saying that they are potentially for drought resistance and saline tolerance. And Professor Balram wanted me to review that paper. So then I sought this clarification. Have the scientists obtained prior consent from these people saying this is what we want to do with the knowledge? Or can you request them to do that? They had not done that. Not only that, later on I learned that as per the current provisions of Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act, it's not even a requirement unless you are a foreigner. So it's a peculiar situation. There's only a moral imperative to this. None of the scientists had done that, and Professor Balram didn't himself persist with it in the academy. So anyway, that's the situation.
So I chair a committee of CSIR, TKDL, on prior informed consent, because we started using these forms way back in late 80s and 90s. Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge, a CSIR journal, I resigned from the editorship many years ago when it was set up, on the ground that they were not taking a written undertaking from the author of papers, that one, they have shared the knowledge with the people in local language, and second, that they have acknowledged them in the text of the paper or authorship. From that time, it took us 25 years, but then CSIR realized that if they don't do that, they will get reprimanded by me publicly. In every conference I go, I'll mention this. So they set up a committee. The committee has drawn up guidelines. There are metallurgy professors, NML chair director is there, so that metallurgy science also, we have materials which did not get rusted for 2000 years. If you do research on that material, those people are not around. But the fact that this is public community knowledge, somewhere some forging was done, casting was done, you should acknowledge that. And you should give due credit and keep that money in a public fund for helping other communities which are doing still the metallurgical work in their backyard. So now the new guidelines you will see very soon, they are in the final stages of being released. They were sent to all the ministries, they have been sent to National Biodiversity Authority and all the other body, PPV, FRA. And this point has been made very clear that we will have to acknowledge a lot of varieties have been developed by breeders just by selection. Nothing, no breeding has been done. In pulses and oilseed, large number of varieties are selections. They were not bred, they were not crossed. So you are absolutely right that there are many cases where neither PIC is taken nor benefit sharing takes place, both the cases. But we have to make progress. We have been struggling, you have been struggling, and I think this is a struggle which will get more strength if there is a coordinated research project. When people of this country together will create a pressure, how will anybody violate that collective wisdom and collective pressure? So I think there is a need for us to do it through a collective body which will expose our students at early age in every college of the country as to what is the right way of doing good science for society. I think that's the only answer to that. Governments will come and go, policies will be made and not made, but once it gets into our psyche and our